got to ask this question.
Yeah.
I mean, even though I'm a car platform, I do music and everything else. What made you get the Bent? That's one of my bucket lists right there.
Oh, man. Okay, now I like that question. It was one of my dream cars. I've had a Range before. That was on my list. I had a Range Rover before. And I always talked about getting a Bentley. I'm talking about probably for the last X amount of years, I've always talked about getting a Bentley. Of course, saying getting a Bentley and getting a Bentley is two different things. First you got to be able to afford it, right? And so I recall I had ran across some extra money from a business deal that went wrong. And so when I got my money back from that business deal, I said, well, I'm going to do something for myself. And so instead of having to put the money into this bad business deal, I'm gonna do something nice for myself, man. So I was looking at the Wraith. I looked at a couple of Maybachs, and that Bentley just spoke to me.
It's luxurious, but it's sporty.
Oh yeah, I got a V12. I got speed.
Boy,
oh man, it's 220 on the dash. That thing go crazy.
Boy, you got like 5 miles a gallon over there.
Yeah. No. The thing about it is, from 1 to 60, it's good. And you can feel the power, but the real power comes in after 60. For like 60 to 120, oh my gosh.
Oh, you already know, huh?
It fly. Hey, man, I do a little something. I had to hit and test it out one time, you know what I'm saying? Because I was looking at the 8 and I was like, I said, I don't want to sit here and pull up beside another Bentley with the V8 and he got the 12 and he look at me and I look at him at this light and he just take off on me and I can't hang with him. And so, man, I got that GT, that V12, man. Now, I put some stars in the ceiling because, I like the Wraith.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
I love the Wraith, right? I was loving the Wraith, but I was getting reports back that's like, yeah, it's not a car that you can really, it's not an everyday car. And I was like, well, I'm looking for an everyday car. He's like, well, it's not like all the time car at all. It's just, you drive it from here 3 miles up the road and take it home. And I was like, no, I want to drive my car. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, Bentley is a touring car. It's a Turismo. So it's like, oh, it's designed to drive. And I'm like, well, I need something I can drive. But I always loved them stars in the Wraith, right?
Man, they look nice, man.
So the first thing I did when I got that Bentley was took it to the custom shop. And I'm like, man, I need my tires black. I need them, the brake collar was done. I need stars in the center. I want to change the colors of my stars. So,
boy.
Yeah, man, it's personal investment, on my item list of mine, you know what I mean? I only got like one more car I want to get after this or whatever, and that's the next step.
We'll find out later. I know you ain't gonna tell us right now. It's a secret.
I'm gonna pop out with something crazy, man. After one of these young men, go platinum or whatever, I'm gonna pop out with something crazy, you know what I'm saying? I pray when I'm gonna buy the OG one for his birthday or something,
That's TV.
One more car question.
Yes,
actually,
sir.
Since we're talking about the newer cars and the luxury store, what was your first car? I know you got a story with that.
My first car was a 94 Ford Tempo.
Woo!
My mom used to deliver papers as a side job when I was a kid, and I remember my dad, because my dad was in the military, so my dad used to tell my mom, she's like, you don't gotta work, and she's like, I know I don't gotta work, but I want to work, and I'm tired of being in the house, so I want to go do something. And I was like, my dad, I remember this conversation. My mom was like, I'm gonna get a paper route. And my dad was like, okay. And we had this big, I remember back in the day, we had this big GMC van. And my mom was trying to do the papers in the paper route. We would ride with my mom or whatever and do the papers. And my mom was like, well, I need something better on gas. My dad went and bought her a 94 Ford Tempo. So my mama had the car for about 6 months. She ain't want to do the paper route no more. And so I was coming of age when I turned 16 and I got my license. My daddy said, okay, now that's your car now. I said, thank you, sir. And I remember my whole junior year, I drove to school because I had the Tempo, you know what I'm saying? It broke down that summer.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh, yeah. It broke down that summer.
Wasn't none go good with no Tempo.
Yeah. And I remember going to the junkyard and pulling the head gasket the first time in my life in that heat. That junkyard hit different.
Boy.
Yeah, out there in the heat, you know what I'm saying, spiders and everything, and it's sweating you up under there trying to pull a wrench. And that's when I realized that I was going to have to be pretty successful monetary-wise because I didn't enjoy that. And my daddy used to always tell me, because my dad was, he was a shade tree mechanic, and he's like, son, come out here and help me with these cars. I'm like, Dad, I don't want to do that. And he's like, son, if you don't learn it, you gonna have to pay the man. And I told my dad, I say, well, Daddy, I'm gonna pay him. And to this day, that's why with everything, anytime anything break down, I don't care what the price is, I pay the man. Because I'm like, you know what? I remember them days up under that shade tree. I remember them days in that junkyard in the hot sweat. And I was like, yeah, that ain't a hobby that I picked up yet. And I just pay the man. I just take it to the shop. Hey, whatever it is, just send me the email and send me the invoice. But yeah, that 94 Ford Tempo, it lasted me a year. It broke down. So my whole senior year, I rode the bus. The whole senior year.
Oh man, not the senior year,
but
man.
the first vehicle I bought myself was a 2000 Tahoe. GMC Yukon. Now, you couldn't tell me nothing with that.
During that time period?
Yeah, it was. I bought it in 2000 when it was 2005. I just got out. I was just in the military. I just got in the military. So the first car I bought, GMC Yukon 2000. I put 24-inch rims on that thing, had two 15s in the back. You could not tell me nothing. I thought I was a rap star. Boy, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I just remember going to the car wash and shining them 24s up, getting the lip good and everything. And then, you put the sunroof down and the windows down and you let that system go and you just boom, boom. Yeah. Don't hit no pothole. Cause I had to take, that was one thing about them big rims, you know what I'm saying? You got to change some tires out. Left and right.
Yeah, you got to turn a certain way, too. You got to plan your turns.
Hey, man, let me tell you something. I drove that car till it literally broke, till it literally died. I had 365,000 miles on that truck until it just finally gave out. I think it still might be in my uncle's yard.
Oh, it's still in the family then. Okay.
It still might be in the uncle's yard with the rims on it and everything.
Oh, man, that's a classic right there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was back in the day with the long T-shirts.
Come on.
Pants.
You couldn't tell me nothing, man. I had some Jabot jeans on.
No.
Man. Had them Jabos with them Jordans on with a tight T-shirt about halfway down my leg.
Oh, man.
And I'm riding on 24s. Ooh.
Yeah, I had a Cadillac STS back then with some 20s on it.
Oh, you were killing. You were killing. Yeah, you were killing.
It was all junkyard, man.
Yes, sir.
I'm a mechanic by trade, but I like pulling parts and shit.
Yes, sir.
I have several cars to myself, but
yes, sir.
I like pulling parts.
I really want to get into the old schools, man. My father is a big car guy, and he has a garage at the house. He raced. I used to live 10 minutes up from the Virginia Motorsports Park, so drag racing was big in my family. And I wanted. He used to always tell me about the Chevy Novas and things like that. And I was like, man, I think it's time to. I think that may be one of my next purchases, man. You know what I'm saying? It's some old school rides, man.
I mean, even with the old school cars, everything can be done on it. Something gonna break.
Oh, of course. And that's one thing I used to remember with my dad.
Crazy, man.
My dad used to drive. My dad used to, his race car was an old school, but he put a 350 big block in it. He used to run, but he used to always break. And I'm like, Dad, why you keep on working on that car and it always break? He's like, son, it ain't all about that. I'm like, well, what is it about?
I know, man.
He's like, when it worked though, it don't work. Ain't nobody touching me. And we used to be out the racetrack, man, on the weekends, man. And Daddy be going down there and race them cars and lose money and bet money and win money and break the car and come back the next week and race the car.
It's a cycle.
Yeah, man. But, when it's in you, it's in you. And, every now and then when I get time, when I go home, I stop by the racetrack, man. It's good to see them cars hit the line.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to VA, man. They showed me so much love back in February, man. Shout out to y'all. Oh yeah, I got a gift for you before we get up here.
Oh man!
Yeah, I try to get it engraved, but the machine was broke. But there you go.
Man.
It'll match the Bentley.
Oh shit! Ooh, hold on, y'all.
Same color as the Bentley.
Come on, baby. We sipping on something tonight. Hey, thank you, brother. I really appreciate that, man. That is love and respect, my brother. And you know what? I'm going to drink responsibly and drive after I sober up.
Oh, shoot.
What's your favorite old school car? I got to ask you that question.
I'm a Ford person myself.
Okay.
I like a variety of cars, actually, like luxury, domestic, and overseas car. But my favorite car, I got it, is a 76 BMW 2002.
Okay.
It's the short BMW before the 3 Series came out.
Oh, wow.
Man, hopefully I clip it in. I got to clip it in there, but I mean, it breaks all the time. But, I mean, I love that car.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about, though.
It's very slow.
It's the time that you spend with the car.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My daddy had a Ranchero, not an El Camino. It was a Ranchero. He used to always tell me that, like, this ain't an El Camino, this is a Ranchero. And, you know, it was like the car truck.
Yep.
And I wish we could find it. I know it's somewhere.
Y'all had a 63 a long time ago.
Yeah, man. That it was like I had never seen nothing like it or whatever. But I would love, like, that would be one of them cars I would try to restore, something like that, El Camino, Ranchero, something different. You don't see them all the time. You see that thing like, what is that? Like, you know what I mean? So, no, shouts out.